Should I hire an intern? That is one of the questions I hear over and over again in my coaching calls with my clients. Should I hire an intern? So I am super excited for you all to join me today on the BOP podcast. It's Patrice Miles, one of the coaches here at My Business on Purpose. And I have Jessie Barber with us, the Director of Client Experience at My Business on Purpose. Jessie works with all of our clients, onboarding them into our system. She also does marketing. She works with our interns. She sends our client boxes out. She helps us in so many different areas. But I recently noticed all of the work that she does with our interns and asked her to be on this podcast to help answer the question, should I hire an intern? So we have two parts to this podcast. The first part is, what do you need to know about hiring an intern? And then part two will actually be an interview with our BOP intern so you can hear from Connor directly about his experience. But for today, in part one, we are going to talk about how to hire an intern. What are some of those obstacles? What's the normal length of time for an internship? How do you find one? What do you pay them? How do you onboard them and communicate with them? And then what do you do when they leave? So Jessie is going to give us all of this information. And we're going to start off with just that first question. Jessie, why do people want to hire an intern? What are the positives about hiring an intern?
Yeah, interns for BOP have been really great. Part of our goal with internships is to cultivate that entrepreneurship and mindset. And so we wanted to be able to bring people in to help them see how businesses actually run. It's a lot different from what you hear in a business school or while you're in college. And so we wanted to give them firsthand experience in that. So for us, it went along with our mission to liberate business owners in showing them the mindset that you have to have and what you have to build out to actually do that later on. So for us, our interns are able to honestly get a lot of work off of our plate. If we have things that we want to research, if we want to try out new expos or conferences, our interns are able to bring just a new level of eyes to that, where we've been looking into this or researching it for a long time. They're able to take that and bring some passion to it. That fresh set of eyes is so invaluable when it comes to bringing new people into your business. Most of the time we've been staring at something for so long, whether it's research on expos or whether it's working with the same template over and over again. Fresh eyes give us a new look and a new life into something that we've had for a really long time. It doesn't hurt that they don't usually have as much skin in the game, and they can be risky, and not in the worst way. They can be risky in the best way, where their time with us is short. And so if we want them to be really honest with us, they need to be really honest with us and tell us what we're missing. And so that's been really helpful. The generational gap has been really great to bring in kind of the fresh generation to see what are we missing, what are some of the older people in the business missing, and what's something that we can use that they've been using that's just been a game changer for technology that they can bring to the table.
Yeah, that sounds great. So what I hear you saying is, number one, they get a lot off your plate for you, especially when it comes to research or things that have kind of just been sitting around and nobody's run with anymore. I hear just kind of that fresh set of eyes, especially with that generational gap, being able to come in as that younger generation and see things that some of us in the older generation really maybe didn't see. And then it also sounds like you can get some honesty out of them because they really don't have any skin in the game. They're only there for a few months. So they can be honest and say, hey, you kind of suck at that. Maybe we should try something different.
Yeah.
So, okay, makes sense. So tell me, what do you feel like is one of the biggest obstacles with bringing on an intern?
Typically, they haven't necessarily worked in a ton of different business environments before. They're either fresh out of high school, some of them are still in high school, or interning out of college. And so we're really kind of the first step into the business environment for them, which can also be a really big positive because they're not coming with these bad habits and bad experiences. Probably the biggest obstacle is going to be your processes. If your processes aren't documented really, really well, are you really going to have time to sit down with an intern every single day and say, hey, this is what I need you to do, but I also need to train you on it? That's where a lot of people struggle, because it's, well, we could bring on an intern, but I could just do it myself because I'm going to have to train them anyway.
Yeah.
We didn't have a process, this would not work. Their time is so short with us. Even if it's a full year, we think a year is a really long time. But if we didn't have those processes already laid out for them of what we wanted them to do, what the goals were, then it really just wouldn't work. We want to utilize an intern as soon as we can and bring them into the culture as soon as we can. So we need to be able to replicate the intern process over and over again if we want to be able to utilize their strengths and talents over and over again.
Yeah. That completely makes sense, Jessie. So basically, number one, they may not have, the professional business environment skills that all of us have perfected over the years. You might have to educate them just a little bit on that, maybe how to dress or just etiquette in the office or things like that. Totally get it. But then ultimately, you got to have all your processes documented. So, if someone that's listening is in one-on-one coaching with us at My Business on Purpose, that's one of the things we preach over and over again, is get that master process roadmap put together and get those processes documented. Because ultimately, you want to replicate that intern process over and over and over again. So if you have everything documented when they come in, once they leave, you can just bring that next intern in and just fit them into those processes. So I love it. What is the normal length of time that you've seen for internships?
Yeah, it really depends on A, the intern, and B, your business. High school students, when we've done internships through high school, it's typically a semester. The school let them leave for so many hours per week for the internship, and then they'll go back to their classes and finish out their classes the rest of the day. College, it really just depends. If they're fresh out of college, it could run up to a year or even longer, especially if you want to hire them on eventually. But in our experience, with a college intern, we've just done a summer internship. So it really just depends on what your intern is looking for. Are they looking for paid or unpaid? Is it accredited or unaccredited? Your business may not fit what they're looking for. And you as a business really need to figure out what you need in an internship. Do you need somebody for longer than a semester? Then that's the kind of intern you're going to need to look for.
Yeah, no, that's great. I remember my son when he was in high school, he did 2 internships. One he was looking at for marketing, and it was unpaid, and it was just a few hours a week. And then his second internship was actually at Qdoba for business, and that was a paid internship where the school let him leave every day for half a day. And he went and did that internship, and it was a great experience for him. I know one thing when we had talked before too, you had mentioned is, sometimes it's better to kind of start short and then extend it just to make sure everything's working. And I love that. So talk to me about, where do you find these interns? How do I find one?
We actually follow very similarly to our BOP hiring process for how we bring coaches in. We do a really similar thing for our interns. Our hiring process says you need a role. And so what are they going to do? What are the goals for that role? Are they just coming in and doing busy work? Or do you actually have some set goals for them to complete before they leave their internship? And so working through the hiring process of, let's get them on a phone call, let's meet them in person, things like that, is crucial even before you start looking for one. So we built out the hiring process, and then we transferred into just asking the BOP community. We asked our clients, we asked friends and family that was around if anyone was looking for an internship. And we always want to start there, even with the hiring process for bringing on people internally for BOP long term. So we want to start with our circles and see who's out there, and then we'll go from there. So our first intern actually was a local high school student, and we coach his dad, and his dad is one of our clients. And so when we started talking about an internship our clients' ears perked up, and Jack was able to come out of that. Our next intern, Connor, just came out of a personal relationship of talking through what we do here at BOP, and his family was interested in what we were doing and said he'll be back for the summer. So he may be interested. And then we followed the hiring process from there. We gave him a call and did all the things that we do through our hiring process for our interns as well.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is follow the BOP hiring process that we preach over and over again with our one-on-one clients. And the first thing is you've got to put out there, what's the role? Because there's all types of internships. Are you looking for somebody for marketing? Are you looking for somebody in accounting? Are you looking for somebody in administration? What are you looking for? And what are those goals? It makes sense. And I love hearing, that Jack came from, one of our clients, because yes, even with our hiring process, when we're hiring employees, we start off with that internal search. Who knows someone that knows someone? I know I've also had success when I wasn't able to find someone in my sphere with a program called Acadium. It's ACADIUM, Acadium. And they are for marketing interns, and it's online virtual, but they do 90-day internships. And I found a sweet little girl through there that worked 90 days for me, and it was a great partnership. So let's talk about pay. If I want to bring on an intern, how much do I need to pay them?
That's a great question, and goes back to just what is your budget within your business? You want to be able to be fair to your interns. And if you don't know your financials, if you don't know percentages that you want to reinvest into the business or that you have set aside for hiring, you're not going to be able to hire someone well and pay them well if you don't know if you have it. So in our local area, the average is around $15 an hour, but we asked other business owners, what have they done in the past? We wanted to look at our budget and make sure that we could actually pay an intern. And so I would start with those two things, seeing if there's anyone else in your local area that has done internships and what have they paid for that, and then making sure that the money's in the budget for your business to be able to hire them.
And I know I mentioned also my son, when he was in high school, he did an unpaid internship, but they actually gifted him with a couple $100 after his internship was over with, even though it was unpaid, which was real sweet. And of course, excited him. I do know the website that I mentioned, the Acadium, I want to say it was around $500 for 90 days, because again, their internships are doing in college to help them with their resumes and things like that. So, okay, we've kind of covered where we find them, how much we pay them. Let's talk about the actual hiring and onboarding. So we've got our intern now, and we actually, I'm sorry, we don't have them yet. We actually have found someone. Now we need to run them through that hiring process. So what does that look like? How do I hire an intern?
Once we make sure that we're very clear with the whole team, especially those that are going to be working with the intern, what the role is, what the goals are. And I would say, especially in an unpaid internship, you don't want to bring somebody in and just kind of waste their time. And so once those are very clear with everyone, including the candidate, following that hiring process of the checklist of, do we have a DISC profile on them? That for us has been a must, especially if you don't know the intern already. And even if you do, we want to know how they work. Do they want to be told exactly what to do, bullet point by bullet point? This is your budget. This is what you're doing in these colors. Or do they just want an idea and they want to run with it? There's creative types. There's data entry types. We want to know who our intern is. And that comes with that personal interaction of, we obviously just want to start with a phone call to see what they're interested in, but then going in a little bit deeper of, all right, we're going to give them a DISC profile to see how they work. We want to see what their hobbies are. We want to see if they've done internships in the past or they've worked in the past. What did they really love about it? And what was a struggle? And then do they have any references? Even if it's not business related, if they have a professor or even their friends and family, what do they have to say about this intern? So just being really intentional right up front about getting to know them as a person to see, is this going to fit the role and the goals that we've built out for this? Or do we maybe need to save them for a later date when we have a little bit of a different idea for a role for them?
Yeah. So again, going back to that BOP hiring process, we've only heard it about 5 times, but over and over again, just going back to that process that we've put together for all of our clients. And we've had huge success, not only internally with our own coaching program and interns, but our clients have had huge success with that process. And at the end of this call, I am going to give you all a place that you can go and actually get that hiring process that we've mentioned over and over again. So you can get that template. But let's talk about what we do once we've hired them. We've followed the process, we've called the references, we've got the DIS test, we've done the interviews, we've done the homework. We know this, this guy's good or this girl is good. Now we've got to onboard that intern. What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, if you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, hiring process, what comes next is our onboarding process. They're both checklists of what we want to make sure that we have done for each of those things. And so onboarding really looks like sharing that role again, making sure we're clear on that. Communication is a really big part of that. How are we going to communicate with the intern? Who has access to the intern? We want to announce the intern to the team. We want to announce that on social media to be able to really bring them into the culture that we've tried to build, being able to make sure that they have some sort of calendar set up in place. It seems pretty elementary, but we want to make sure that we're all on the same page of when we're available and when we're not and what's on the schedule to do. We've actually started building out dashboards because there's so many different things we could be working on at one time. We have basically this sheet with multiple boxes on it that has links to the intern's weekly schedule, contacts, our vision story, our marketing efforts. We want them to be able to go in and look in with those fresh eyes and see what we're missing. So we'll set that up for them, their weekly schedule, and then we'll actually bring them into our courses and our modules for the BOP roadmap for them to be able to go through. So like we said in the beginning, we have the goal of being able to cultivate this entrepreneurial mindset within our interns. And part of that is training them on how do we build a business. And so we'll bring them into that for them to be able to watch those videos and be able to bring that to our clients as well.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is a lot of preparation going into that onboarding. And why? Because they are there for a limited amount of time. Some of them are just 2 months. And so if we don't get them onboarded right away and get them in, it's kind of a waste. And so really preparing up front that onboarding process, that weekly schedule, and having all the processes put together so you can train them. But again, you hear another process, the onboarding process, which again is another tool that we, of course, give to all our clients. And I do want to make sure, Jessie, that whenever we in this call that we do have links for that hiring process template and that onboarding process template for anybody that's listening, because it really does help not only internally, but for your candidate, because they're the ones that are going to be doing all this, and it helps get rid of all of that chaos. So let's talk about how do we communicate with an intern so we don't have that chaos come in.
We actually designate somebody, a middleman of sorts in the team. And so our interns have access to the team. Our team has access to the intern, but we need somebody to be able to help them build out that schedule to make sure the priority is the priority. If Patrice is talking to the intern and saying, hey, I need this flyer, and I'm coming to the intern saying that I need all of these things, we need to protect that space for them and make sure they know you are a part of the team. We want to make sure that you're taken care of. Here's the priority. I'll help you build that out. And so that middleman of just being able to have one designated person as the go-to for our interns has been really helpful for all of us on the team. I mentioned that dashboard. That's been really helpful of being able to get the main things in there so that if one of us isn't available, that they can go back to that dashboard and say, all right, I'm going to work on this today because it's already ready for them. We've also implemented a weekly check-in on Mondays. That's typically when we go through the schedule for the rest of the week. And obviously that can change throughout the weeks based off of clients that are needing help from the intern or our team needing help from the intern. But we always want to make sure that we can communicate really well and be available for the intern. So we've actually also brought our interns into Slack. That's what we use for internal communication. And so we'll bring them into that as well. So we're not blowing up their phone all week, that we can just put things in there. And when it's their time to come in, they can check that. And then we can talk about that on the phone if we need to.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, Jessie, the middleman that you talk about, that's you, correct?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So just the importance of having that one person that is basically managing the intern. And then ultimately, I love the Slack channel that we've incorporated to where we can all put on there things that we would like done or we need done. But ultimately, what I heard you say is on Mondays, you're meeting with the intern and then kind of ciphering through all of those tasks and saying, okay, here's the priority things that I want you to do when you work for us, the 10 hours this week that you work with us. And so you're kind of setting that weekly schedule on a weekly basis with him based on the tasks at hand. So makes sense and sounds very organized. So talk to me about what do we do when their time is over? They've served their internship. Now it's time for, us to wish them well. What are some of just kind of the in-house things that you need to remember to do?
It goes back to that hiring process that kind of helps us with the checklist of what we need to do when we're offboarding interns as well. I mentioned that we bring them into the BOP roadmap to go through those courses. If they are still going through it and we want to help them grow in that, then we'll keep them on. Otherwise, we would take that off. Access to our Google folders or any documents that we've been working on. Again, for security reasons, if you're wanting to take an intern off of that, you need to make sure that that happens. Things like Slack communication, if they're not in with us at the moment, then we need to take them off of that so they're not constantly getting notifications from us throughout the year. Anything that we've added them onto in the beginning during that hiring process, we're wanting to be able to take them off of. But in addition to that, we obviously want to make sure that their time with us was useful to them, to let them know that it was really useful to us and what that looks like. And so we've built out some offboarding questions to just say, hey, we really appreciated your time with us. This is what we saw you grow in and learn. And we want to hear from you of things that you thought we could do better or things that you weren't expecting that really made a difference in your internship. So just simple questions like, what is something that you know now about business ownership that you didn't know before? Or how has your view of businesses changed? Again, it's those fresh eyes of not necessarily knowing what they're seeing from us and our clients, and we want to know that. So being able to use that time well and hear back from them after their time with us is invaluable.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So basically, just for security measures, removing them from just anything that they had access to. But I love, love, love the offboarding questions. That's fantastic. And I know that, the last intern we had, he loved us so much. He actually showed up at Team Day 2 weeks ago. He's not even our intern anymore. And he showed up because he just wanted to come hang out and be a part of what was going on. And I loved that. So thank you so much, Jessie. This has been so huge of just really kind of understanding the whole intern process from the just thought of should I hire an intern all the way down to bringing them in and onboarding them and training them and then kind of setting them off. And again, the whole goal with all of this is just to wash, rinse, and repeat. You can just do this over and over again and continue to bring interns in to really take stuff off your plate, especially to have just that different sight into the business because of just the generation that they come from, the knowledge that they have just brings so much to the business. So I love that. 2 things I wanted to leave everyone with. One, I did mention over and over again that we want to give you access to that hiring process and that onboarding process. So we'll make sure that a link is in the notes for you guys to sign up and get those templates. The other thing is if you really want to know if you're ready for an intern, you need to know what the health of your business is. How healthy is your business? Because if it's not very healthy, you may not want to bring an intern into that chaos right now. And so you can actually visit www.boproadmap.com/healthy. Again, that's boproadmap.com/healthy. You can take our healthy business assessment test and find out the health of your business. And if you're ready to actually take that intern on, I also wanted to make sure there is part 2 to this. We are actually going to interview our intern, Connor, who has been in his position for 30 days to actually talk to him about this process and how he went through it. And then also talk to him about what his experience has been so far and what he has to tell all business owners about hiring an intern. So make sure to visit part 2 of Should I Hire an Intern? Thanks, Jessie.
Thanks, Patrice.